Hello my stitchy friends, it's Jenny from Jenny Stitching Simply here on Flosstube and on Instagram. I wanted to do something a little bit different today and show you what my stitching setup looks like. I also want to include a review of the BenQ lamp at the end of the video. I know that there have been a lot of reviews out there. I think that you might find mine to be a little bit different. So that is also in this video, and I am very grateful that they were kind enough to send me one for my honest review of that. So first I'll tell you kind of the location that I stitch at. I am sitting at my dining room table, and the wall behind me separates the kitchen from the dining room. So you can see a little bit of the kitchen over there. I didn't really clean up, so I'm not sure what's there. I'm making pizza dough, so I think that's in that thing right there. So on the other side of me is the living room. It's kind of like the dining room, living room, you know, in one space. And then there's the stairs that lead up because it's a split level. So I personally find that sitting at a table is most comfortable for me. Now Roman and everyone will constantly say, there's comfortable chairs right over there, Mom. Don't you want to sit over there? But I really like to be at a table where everything's on the table and I'm not holding things either on the side of me or in my lap or anything like that. So if I'm stitching naturally in the car or at someone else's house, you know, it's different. But for me, dining room table is my special place. Now, it has to be this exact spot at the dining room table, which I will show you. It's like Sheldon's spot in The Big Bang Theory. If you watch that show, it was one of my absolute favorite shows. I think it's hysterical, but this is my spot. No one else sits in this spot. And if they do, I remove them from the spot. No matter how rude that may be, I can't have anyone else sit here. So yes, it is our dining room table, but it's very large. And now that the boys are 20 and 16, most of the time it's just Steve and I here. So of course, when we have a need to use the table, I remove my stuff from it. I don't hog the whole table, but I just want to show you how I do this. So I'm going to use a couple different angles and hopefully I'll be able to give you the full effect of what I am working with here. This is the table that I work at, and behind us you'll see the baskets and containers that I use to store my pieces. I do have a video on cross-stitching storage in a small space. So yes, my storage and my ironing board is on a table in our dining room, but as I've talked about before, I'm okay with that because I feel like our friends understand that that's just something that's really important to me. So I will turn the camera and give a better angle of this mat, but I recently made a mat. I previously was using an old cutting board that had just gotten too used to really be effective for cutting accurately, and that's what I would put under the piece that I was stitching. So what I did was I made a mat out of scraps that I had, and then I used the funky flower from By the Bay Needle Art as a little inset in the mat. That was not my original intention, but I like the flower so much that I really think I'll be stitching it more than one time. So I decided to add it to the mat. When I'm stitching here, so I have my BenQ lamp here, and really everything that I need is technically on this mat. So I'll do a better, whoops. So there's a pocket with my scissors. I do not have a huge scissor collection. These are my favorite scissors, the Dovo scissors that I use all the time when I'm at home. And then I always use a highlighter, has to be blue, and a pencil. And I really, really love these Paper Mate mechanical pencils. So these can go in these pockets as well. I'll show this better in a minute. And then I have, if I'm traveling, I have this small Ort container, which is a little tin from the Etsy shop Mainworks, which works great. And when I'm at home, I still use the stitching tray that I showed in my very first video. And really nothing has changed. I still use this little bowl for my orts. I still use this to hold my scissors in if the mat is away and I'm not actively stitching. I still use the same hand cream, which is wonderful. It is basically beeswax, so it works really well on dry hands, and I have not found it to affect my stitching at all. I do use now a pin cushion from Seju, and I like to, if I have to preload needles, I'll just line them all up in here. And I have started to use a damp sponge, and that's something that I learned from Jean Farish, and I will show you that in a moment. But I always railroad my stitches. I always have. And since I started doing this technique, I really have found that I don't need to, and they lay just as nicely. So this is still same tray, and then I have added the mat. So let me give you a better close-up here of what is on the mat. So like I said, this was done with scraps. I did not have any idea ahead of time of what I was going to do. I knew I wanted it to be about the same size as the cutting mat that I was using previously. So I started with this blue Kona, and that was like the largest piece that I had to work with. And then I added this Liberty fabric and the stitched piece. This is a piece of not stitching linen, but just like apparel linen. And then I added a few pieces of felt to hold needles. And then there's a needle minder that can go anywhere. I have one that I want to make to actually like match this flower pattern, but I haven't done that yet. And then I added the pocket for the scissors, highlighter, whatever else. And then these were extras. Don't mind the binding. I had a little mishap where I cut it too small and I did not want to rip it all out. So I just made it work. But these were left over from a project bag that I had done where I was really just trying to practice doing half square triangles. And then I ended up with some extra ones. And then this, I have no experience quilting. I just made leaf shapes with my regular sewing machine to hold everything together, and I felt like that worked just fine. And then on the back, I just pieced together enough fabric that it was the right size. And I added this little tie at the top. It's actually to hold floss. Now, I considered making something so that it rolled up, but I have not done that yet. This was basically, it was something I did on a Sunday, and it was one of those projects where I had no intention of doing it, and then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I was completely committed to getting this mat finished. So I'm really happy with this, and I really can't have more than like these items on the table because I get really distracted, and I will have my laptop to watch Flosstube and things while I'm stitching because we don't have a TV in the living room. But besides this, I really can't have more around me if I want to focus. So just to show you how I use this, I did start Consider the Lilies a few days ago, which I'm very excited about. I was not planning on starting it. I had the charts and the fabric from my sweet friend Eileen, and I had it kitted with DMC, and it's been ready to go. And I didn't do anything for Mania in particular, so I thought, well, let me just start this. That would be fun. So I keep the threads in a pouch because I find that I like to use, I do have some project bags that I've made, but I like these eco pouches that I've shown many times before because I feel like when the fabric is folded and the chart is in there, it just takes up a lot less space. And then I just put a little sticker on the label so I know what it is. But then you run into the large ring of threads, which is what always throws me off as far as how to fit these into a project bag. So I don't put everything on floss drops. I've realized that for me, some projects are better on bobbins. This one, because there's so many colors and it does use a lot of floss, I did go ahead and put them on floss drops, and I did put the symbols on. I don't always do that, but this one, there would have been a lot of flipping back and forth. So what I would normally do, whoops, let me just see if I can get, sorry guys. I am left-handed, so I usually have my threads on this side, and then this is where, if I wanted to, I could just attach the ring. I do have one of my two cats that will actually take things. He will take scissors or highlighters or threads and carry them away. So I try to keep everything as safe as possible. And then this pouch is a Heidi West piece. I have shown her work before. She's on Etsy. What I like about her pouches are they're water resistant, and she actually screen prints the fabric herself. It's her fabric design, and she prints it and then sews the bag. So I really like these. And this has a pretty plum color lining. The light today is a little bit different. We're supposed to have hail and possibly tornado watches, and so it's a little bit darker than usual. So when I'm stitching, like I said, I try to keep as much out of my way as possible. And I don't know, I guess you can see that too much, but I would have my chart in front of me. Now I like to have it face down, or I'm sorry, on the table. So I know that it could be said that there's back fatigue or neck fatigue, or, you know, from looking down. I don't know why, but for me, this is the most comfortable setup. I do get up often, mainly because, you know, I need to do something for someone. I need to make food, or I want to do a load of laundry, or I want to do some dishes. So where I'm sitting is also easy for me to get up and move around and do things without having to take everything off my lap. Roman, you want to come say hi?
No, I'm okay.
Come on.
No.
Just say hi. Stick your cute little face in there.
It's so low.
Well, I'm not a professional like Roman is, so I'm doing the best I can.
Have fun.
Thank you, honey. So this is what my fabric looks like. Don't judge me. I do fold it when I put it away, but I stitch in hand. So this is pretty much what it looks like until I iron it, either to take pictures or, you know, I don't really iron it that often because I don't want to smush the stitches. So I would do it just as I have a thread started here, but just like most people would, would do, I would grab one strand and then neaten it back up, and then, like I mentioned, I'm really loving just running this through the damp sponge. I feel like it makes it lay perfectly. I am a thread licker. Sorry guys, but you can't really see me because it's off camera. This is 2 strands over 2 on 36 counts. I'll share all the details in a regular video, but this is what I have. And then I'm not actually looking at the pattern, but I do use the sewing method. So once I get the loop started, I try to keep my left hand on top, and I do go left to right. If you're right-handed, you would go right to left, but it just depends on what I'm doing and where I'm at. You know, sometimes I can't keep my hand on top. I mean, there's nothing wrong with switching back and forth. I do that all the time. Sometimes it's just easier for me to do it the other way. And sometimes I go in the wrong spot and I have to fix it. But yes, I do stitch like this. One of the, I think, biggest things that helped me learn how to stitch in hand was 1, to count the threads, not the holes, and also to think of it like you're scooping. I'm always, when I go down and up, I think of it as like scooping up the linen threads. So, and again, I don't always do the sewing method. Certain things lend itself really well to it. The Rosewood Manor piece that I'm working on has so many straight lines in it that works perfectly. And sometimes I cannot do the sewing method right to left, but on a piece like the Rosewood Manor Crosshaven sampler, I would just flip it upside down and then continue that way. Something this large, I would just not do that and figure out a different path. But it is a really big piece. It's really wrinkly. It will be like that. I have no adverse effects from letting it be wrinkly while I'm stitching on it. And then when I'm done, I do fold the fabric, put it with the chart, keep it in the eco bag or project bag. And then I keep it in the basket over here. So these are things that I'm actively working on. And then I'm just very cautious about, even though I don't have small children anymore, I am really careful about putting things away when I'm not using it. I mean, if anybody's going to spill anything on it, it's probably going to be me anyway. So that is how I use my little stitching setup. So yes, for me, it's got to be the table. I have to have it pretty clear. I can't live without having this chapstick next to me. This is my favorite chapstick. It's not really focusing. But anyway, so that's the setup, and I'm just going to change angles too so you can see it from the other side. I know that there had been a lot of reviews, and when they had reached out to me and said that they wanted an honest review, I thought, okay, I will definitely try it and I will give an honest review. My only experience with lights were an OttLight, the small portable OttLight, and I really didn't use it. I really found that with the natural light to the left of me and the right of me, I just don't normally use any type of additional lighting. So they sent it. It was beautifully packaged. I wasn't thinking, I should have showed you the packaging, but very safely packaged, came very quickly. And I put it together. It was like nothing to assemble. Super easy. And I put it on the table and thought, oh my gosh, no, absolutely not. I think it was I wasn't used to having something kind of in the line of sight when I walked into the room, and without being used to it, it was like so imposing to me. I was not a fan. So that was my initial reaction. Now, as you've seen before, you can adjust the light using the knob, and you can also adjust it's a little hard to see in the video, but Roman showed me that you can also adjust it. You can turn it on and off from here, but you can also adjust the brightness, and then you can change
from, warm to cool. He said, Mom, you really should probably try to figure out how it works before you talk about it. Basically, great light, great warm and cool light. This cord was the other thing that I was not a fan of at first. So you push it into this casing, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me. But my concern was, it's this beautiful, like, kind of not fabric, but you know what I mean? It's not a regular cord. And I thought, oh my gosh, the cats are going to go nuts over this. It's also a very long cord, so I have it kind of wrapped up with a rubber band. So it's good that it's a long cord. I just don't need a long cord. And I thought that for sure the cats were just going to chew right through this thing because of the texture. That has not been an issue at all. Not at all. The base is very heavy, which is very nice. And I do use the base to sit things on. It articulates in all kinds of ways. So, you can do it up and down. You can do it side to side. Roman had said, it seems like it should pivot the other way too, because there's this ball here. And sure enough, he was right. So, oops, sorry, my finger was in the way. So you can really, adjust this all kinds of ways. And in the instructions, what I liked as well was they showed you where the light should be positioned if you're reading or using the computer. And I have found that really does help with eye fatigue. I recently did the Jardin Privé free temperature chart that I had shown in my last regular video, and I was doing it 1/1 on 28 count, and I would say that the difference with having this, like using this light, is what made me be able to do it. I don't think I would have done it otherwise. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting, now I did not ask them, I should have, there's a BenQ logo here, and I had my needle minder sitting on here, and not on purpose, just that's where it was. And when Steve and Roman were looking at it independently of each other, my husband said, oh, BenQ, they do projectors, because he works in IT for a hospital system, so they have a lot of projectors and things like that for meetings. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it is, it's a really well-made light for sure. And then Roman looked at it, he said, oh, they make really good monitors. And I thought, cool. So it's definitely, if you need a light, I would say that this is very effective, very good quality. All the parts that move do not feel like it's going to be something that over time fails, and then you have it hanging and not being able to adjust it anymore. The weight of the base makes it very stable. I don't worry about if for some reason the cat, brushes past it, it's not going to fall off the table or anything like that. Not that I'm saying I let my cats on the table, but things happen. So yeah, I would say it's fantastic. And my initial opinion of it, once I started using it, I really did actually fall in love with it. So it's a great investment. Definitely not a travel piece. It's not a travel piece, but really, really good quality. So that is my BenQ opinion. And I think that is everything about my setup. That is really it. That is really it, guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out, or anything else you want me to show. Yes, that is a giant rooster planter there in the corner. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye, guys.